If you ever wondered why you continue to date the same kind of person, and I'm not talking about physically looking like the same kind of person, I'm talking about the same kind of emotional state. Or maybe you continue to be drawn to emotionally unavailable partners. I used to look at healing as if it was just a matter of letting the time pass by. And then once I didn't feel all of the pain that I once felt, then it was time to start dating again. But healing is about so much more than that. And today we're going to talk about how to heal the correct way so that we can stop looking at the same type of people that are giving us dead ends in relationships. So, my name is Megan. I am the Conscious Breakup Coach, and I am here to help you turn your heartache into the best glow up you ever had. So, today we're going to talk about how your inner child chooses the person that you date. If you are operating from an unhealed perspective, then you're probably finding yourself in these relational cycles that are just not fulfilling. Either it is the constant narcissist, maybe you are constantly attracting the avoidant, maybe it is the breadcrumber, whatever it is, we're going to get to the bottom of it today. So, at first, we're going to start out with what exactly is your inner child, maybe some patterns that you might have noticed, what reparenting looks like, and then some things that you can actually do today to start healing your inner child. Your inner child is just that you were before you felt like you needed to be all tough to deal with life. So our inner child is who we authentically are. Before we have all of these experiences that happen in life, we come in as just authentically believing all is good, all is great, until life begins to show us otherwise. So, as we start to experience trauma, we start to experience different letdowns in relationships, then little by little, we start to put on these little pieces of bandages to help protect us so that we aren't as raw to the emotional backlash of some of these letdowns that we experience in connection. Now, while we may not accurately be able to verbalize or communicate the pain that we are feeling, the pain that we are feeling is continuing to act out. It acts out by the way we become impulsive the second someone says something that we take personal, instead of as constructive criticism. It comes out in the types of partners that we choose. If we find ourselves constantly in the company of people who are emotionally unavailable, then that says more about what we believe we are deserving of and what is possible for us in love than it ever said about them. And even if we do feel that we show up as that perfect partner, being overly anxious, clingy, constantly needing reassurance, those are other factors that show up in our behavior as far as how we feel about ourselves. There is an underlying fear of abandonment that is playing out for every person that feels the need to cling harder to a connection that they're afraid of losing. So now let's talk about the patterns in relationships. The most obvious pattern is confusing inconsistency with emotional closeness. The highs are so high, so it makes it that much easier to ignore that the lows are in hell. Okay. Listen, if you are dating a dismissive avoidant, then you know that I am not exaggerating, not even a little bit. Sometimes they show up and they show up like that perfect person. Of course, if we're thinking about the relationship as a whole, those first 3, 4 months, oh, they were spot on. They were attentive, they were emotionally available, they had you on a pedestal. They had you believing that they had found their perfect person. And of course, your anxious little heart was eating it up because it comes off as everything you ever wanted. The only issue is that they don't have the emotional capacity to maintain that. They run hot and cold because of their inability to regulate their own emotions. So when you're not able to regulate your own emotions, that means that you're operating more impulsive than ever. So whenever you're feeling good, your impulsiveness is to operate in ways that look like you're feeling good. And when you're feeling bad, well, you act like a person who doesn't feel great. So when we think about a relationship as a whole, not every day is going to be running on high, right? Like, not every day are you all going to be running through a field of flowers, singing love songs to each other. There are going to be some days where you just are, and that's okay. For an avoidant on those days that just are, that looks like boring, or that looks like a space where they can fill in the blank with their own anxiety. And the only issue is that their response to anxiety is not to cling harder. It's not to want to be closer to you. It is to give you as much space as possible. So that pattern in the relationship is when the anxiety sets in and the avoidant starts to try to give space, while you, on the other hand, start to cling even harder. When you start to cling even harder, that is really your inner child terrified of being left alone. And when we think about being left, it does not have to necessarily mean physically being left. Sometimes we are speaking about emotionally being left, because ultimately, whether it happened physically or emotionally, the end result is the same. You have trust issues, you have abandonment issues. So not only are you carrying around this fear of being left, in a sense, you're actually looking for it. You're on high alert for it because the anxiety in connection is your baseline. You're used to being on alert for someone to potentially leave you or to potentially reject you. And because you're used to it, you always are kind of subconsciously looking for it. Another pattern in relationship is fearing that you are too much. If you are that kid that was told that you were overly sensitive, or you were that kid that maybe talked too much and you were constantly told to calm down, stop that, be chill, suck it up, be strong, then you're probably one of those people that believes that they might just be too much, which in all actuality is not a matter of you being too much. It was a matter of you being around people who did not think to act or think as big as you did. And trust me, if anybody can relate with you on that one, it is me. I was that kid that was big everything. For my astrology girlies, my Taurus is in Jupiter. So the largest planet. Taurus is the sign that represents material being. Jupiter is the largest planet. So I am that girl where everything is on a grand scale. My personality, Gemini, huge. Everything, my ambition, everything was really big. And I came from parents who believed in instilling the values in me that I could be and do anything I wanted to do. However, it also had to be within reason for them. So the scale at which I thought just far exceeded what most of the people around me were thinking. Did that make me too much? No, it just meant that I was surrounded by people who thought on a smaller scale than me, which also doesn't make them too little, BT dubs. And then one of the most obvious patterns in relationships that your inner child is choosing your partner is you are addicted to the potential. Listen, I probably should have said this first, but here we are. When we get into these relationships, and I already kind of hinted at it a little bit, the first few months are filled with a ton of chemistry. It is explosive. And I could get into the whole breakdown of why it happens like that for avoidance, but we'll save that for another video. But just know it is very explosive in the beginning, and avoidance normally come off as the perfect partner. So when the honeymoon phase is over and reality starts to set in, and you're not paying attention to what is, and you're still stuck on what was, that is your inner child still choosing and driving this relationship. When we think about our inner child, we think about our inner child being stuck in some of these emotional loops. So, as I was mentioning, our inner child is that part of us that just is before all of the chaos, before all of the trauma happened. So, as the inner child that just is, we may be stuck in the emotional loop from childhood where maybe it was that one moment our parent did not show up for us the way we needed them to. Instead, they left us to deal with our feelings on our own. So now the emotional loop that we are carrying is in our partners. We keep finding people that are presenting the same setting for us where we think that we're finally going to be loved the way we want. And then they end up letting us down and leaving us to handle our emotions on our own, which would resemble the same emotional landscape from our childhood. That is the way these emotional loops work. That is why the first 3 months of these anxious avoidant relationships come with so much explosion because it's not just the chemistry that you all are experiencing. It is also a lot of the hope that you have infused this relationship with. And a lot of that hope that you were infusing this new relationship with stems from childhood. It stems from an unmet need from your childhood. The emotional landscape is set to be the same. The only difference is that once again, you're going to experience the letdown, and it will not happen through your primary caretaker or through your parent. It will continue to happen through every romantic partner you meet until you acknowledge the wound that is choosing those partners. So I think we can all in all sum up with the being addicted to potential as just straight up ignoring the red flags. Okay. That was my specialty. You could ask any of my friends, and they will tell you anytime I met a new guy, he was the most amazing person in the world. And I will never forget one of my friends saying, Megan, why is it that every time you meet a new guy, he's always so perfect? And I'm like, because I only meet perfect men. Duh. Like, the delusion, the anxiety was driving every single decision I was making. But because I was knee deep in my wounding, I just couldn't see the forest from the trees. I couldn't see that, yeah, these men might have had some great qualities, but there were also some very important, not so great qualities that needed my attention as well. So now, when we think about reparenting, we have identified the patterns in relationships. We have identified some of the things that may be going on with us, but what do we do about it? Well, when it comes to reparenting, it is using those triggers as power. Every time you feel triggered by something, or every time something doesn't sit right with you, then there's power in that. And when you start to acknowledge the power within it, instead of you becoming so reactive, someone said something to hurt your feelings, and the first thing you want to do is jump to defend yourself. Now you're coming from a state of, let me explore this feeling. I'll give you a prime example. Yesterday, Yesterday, my daughter comes to me, and I had no idea that I did this, but she asked me, why do you feel the need to always talk to me whenever I'm on the phone? And immediately I'm like, whoa, 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 wait a minute. Who the hell she thinks she talking to? But I didn't respond like that. So I just was like, I didn't realize that I always try to talk to you while you're on the phone. And she says, yeah, you did it yesterday when I was talking to grandpa, and now you did it today when I'm talking to my friend. And I was just like, I don't know. I was like, honestly, wasn't even aware that I was making a habit out of it, but noted. I let some time pass by because I knew that the way she said it, it didn't feel right to me, but I didn't know why it didn't feel right to me. So I let some time pass by, and then I was like, you know what? I was like, I gotta be honest with you. Something about the way you approached me earlier kind of made me a little off-putted. And she was like, what? And I'm like, yeah, the whole, why do you feel the need to interrupt me when I'm talking on the phone? There was something about the way that you worded that that made me very defensive. And as I was trying to answer your question, I felt myself fighting off the need to be defensive. And I was like, so maybe next time it wouldn't be a why do you feel the need? Maybe it's a I've noticed every time I'm on the phone, and dot dot dot. So that's just an example. We get into these moments where we are immediately offended and we get right into reactive mode. And right when we feel reactive is right when we have the most power. Instead of being reactive, ask yourself, oh, this got me a little triggered. Cha cha cha. I like to make a joke out of it because listen, I can go from 0 to 100 real quick. So I have to find ways to calm myself down. So I've turned it into a little cha cha. What are we exploring? So start to explore those hot and heavy moments. You can do it while you are triggered, or if you were able to catch your thought process and you notice your thoughts are going far left, start ask yourself, why are your thoughts going far left? My dog walker is coming and my dog is getting ready to show out. So when and we're back. So, God, I forgot what I was saying. Anyway, use those triggers, use them for power. When we start to look at these triggers, start identifying these feelings. So go beyond the I'm mad or I'm sad or I'm frustrated. Try to dig a little deeper because remember, you can only connect the dots looking back. So until you're able to name those feelings, connect them to some childhood moments where you might have felt it, maybe early adulthood times, until you're able to actually connect those feelings to what they are actually bringing up, then you're going to find yourself in this endless cycle of cat and mouse, and your different partners will just continue to activate you in different ways. And then a little trick that I do with, or that I tell my clients, when they're trying to get in touch with their inner child and just trying to be more connected with their authentic self, is to give in to those little joys that you have, no matter how small they are. Because the more we deny ourselves of the little pleasures, it makes us easier to not even be aware of the big ones, right? So think about it. This is how petty I can be. I love to have my TV volume on an even number. I don't know why. It's probably a control thing. I don't want to look into it. I don't want to heal it. But I like to have my TV volume, or really any volume for that matter, on an even number. So I go out of my way to make sure it's always on an even number. Call me petty, but it's something I like. That's my little way of honoring myself. I love to have fresh flowers in my house. I knew that was going to happen. I hope that the voice mouth doesn't mix up because of that. Last time the mic drop that happened and it annoyed me, but it was such a good video, I didn't have the heart to delete it. But anyway, I like to have fresh flowers in my house. So I go out of my way to make sure that I have fresh flowers. That's how I honor myself. I enjoy a hot bath every single morning. I wake up early to make sure that my bath is possible. You have to find those little things that you enjoy that are just yours, no one else's, and honor yourself in those ways. Because the more you honor yourself in those small, little, seemingly doesn't mean anything moment, then you're going to start to see how you show up in different ways. Maybe now your favorite color is changing. Maybe you're listening to different types of music. You're hanging with different people. When you start to heal and peel back the layers, you start to authentically show who you were all along. And sometimes who you were all along doesn't look like the person that the people you know now know. So let's talk about some ways that you today can get in touch with your inner child. The very first way is to listen to some music from your childhood. Music is therapy. And when we listen to music, especially that comes from our childhood, it brings out a different part of us. And if you really want an added bonus, dance to it. Dance to it in the mirror. Looking at yourself dancing to your childhood music is going to really help you to tap back into that part of you that just liked what you liked before the world happened. Another way that you can start to get in touch with your inner child is to write your inner child a letter. Write a letter saying all of the things that you needed to hear when you were 8 years old. What was something that you needed to hear? What was the kind of support that you needed to have that you didn't have? Take a moment, write your inner child, write your 8-year-old self a letter, and have it come from a trusted adult. Your inner child is the real you. It is the you that wants to be free. It is the you that is the absolute most authentic. And connecting back to your inner child is the only real way to find true, authentic happiness. Because until you do that, there are always going to be parts of you that you are going to be denying just all in the name of trying to fit in. My name is Megan. I am the Conscious Breakup Coach. If you enjoyed this video, please do not forget to hit the like, subscribe, share, comment, all of the things. And of course, if you are truly ready to do the work and start healing your inner child, check the description box for the link to my discovery call. I would love to hear from you. And until next time, I will see you later.